Hi there, and welcome to everybody watching and tuning in live on the Wednesday warm-up on This Is Ibrox. As always, I'm joined by two fantastic guests. Firstly, a guy who I not only seem to be on, but always seem to be on when there's a cup final just round the corner, and that can never be a bad thing. Andrew Anderson, it's been a while, but how are you doing, my friend?
Very well indeed. Looking forward to talking about said cup final. Call me a glory hunter all you want. It's just priorities. But it is good to be on the week of a cup final, of course.
Listen, the way I look at it is we've been in plenty of cup finals in the past few years, so that's the positive spin I'm putting on it, Andy, and I'm sticking to that. And Kyran, man, I don't know, I'm fearing we're going to get some Willie Henderson comments again after tonight's show, but how are you doing, my friend?
I'm all good, yeah, I'm all good. Hopefully be a Rangers dash in, my wife due on Monday, so she may go into labour on while we're on air, so it might be an interesting show.
That's fine. In the TII podcasters, we've all got names attached to minutes, so if it's on the what is it, 14th minute, I'm sure I'm down for Alfredo on that one, Kyran.
Oh, that would be brilliant. Junior Buffalo.
That's knee sliding before he can walk. But yeah, listen, there's plenty of stuff to get talking about, as always. Danilo Clement confirmed today in his presser that Danilo will be out for several months, whatever that means. We'll talk about what the guys think, how we're going to replace that void. Do we fill that void? A couple of players that have been mentioned as well. Connor Barron, we'll get into him. Obviously, Cifuentes' red card, that appeal failed. Is it surprising, not surprising? We'll get the guys' thoughts on that as well. Obviously, there was an interview that Fashion Sakala did today. That's made a lot of noise in social media. We'll see how, get the guys' thoughts on that and how poorly he seems to have been treated. And of course, there's a pretty big, important game tomorrow night against Real Betis, where Rangers have the opportunity to top and qualify to the next stage, but we're guaranteed Europe nonetheless. Kyran, I'll begin with you. We'll just get straight into it. I cannot remember ever so many consecutive years where there's just been so many injuries to so many Rangers players. Danilo, just another one. It looked fairly innocuous in the Hearts game, didn't think anything of it. And I was a bit surprised when in the pre-match presser against Dundee that Clement came out and confirmed that he would be out for a while. How big a blow to Rangers season is this?
It's huge. It's absolutely massive. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes about it. We were saying before that, I think we said on this podcast that we were a Danilo injury away from a crisis, and here we are. Like, it happened, and we knew it was just round the corner. Now, Dessers done okay at the weekend, and when we say okay, it's kind of like, I don't want to swear, but it's better than bottom of the barrel. So I'm not completely sold on him, but do you know what? I loved what Clement said after the game at the weekend. Came out and said this team's a team and they fight for each other and there's a unity in the dressing room, and it really reassured me that, do you know what? Maybe we are down on our luck a wee bit here, but we'll just all pull together and we'll move forward. But there's only so much that can do when it comes down to quality. I just don't know if Dessers can add that, but the silver lining is that hopefully Matondo can get up to speed pretty quickly and we start to see Sima through the middle and Matondo put on the left. I mean, although we are slim on numbers, Matondo, McCausland and Sima is a front line that I would really enjoy watching. There is a hell of a lot of pace and excitement in there and plenty of width, and I think that's what Clement likes. So although it's a major blow for Danilo and for Rangers and for the fans, we can get by. We've got to go out and spend in January now, and I know we'll get on to that, but I think that pushes the boat out a wee bit in that case.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I like your positivity on that. It's I've been a bit more doom and gloom. I think as soon as I saw that in the Dundee pre-match press conference, my head was in my hands. I couldn't believe it. It's if you couldn't laugh, it would be funny. Do you know what I mean?
I feel like Alistair Johnson in that documentary in 2012 when he said 2 words. First one, no.
Yeah, 100%. And Andy, a similar question to you. I mean, I look at some of the Danilo stats. I was quite surprised he'd played so many games for us, given that he did break his face in the first part of the season. 21 games, 6 goals, 5 assists. I know it's not the whole picture. He brings a lot more. His link-up play is certainly better than Dessers and maybe a couple other forwards that we have at the club. But just as a whole, how big a blow to the rest of the Rangers season is this?
I'm in the same boat as Kieran. It's obviously a blow. Clement is obviously not a silly man. He's a good manager. He's came in, he's steadied the ship. 12 or 13 games it is now, unbeaten. He's got the best out of a squad that was toiling, for want of a better expression, really, really toiling. So to lose Danilo, our only viable option, I believe, and I think he believes as well, it could win Rangers an SPL title. I don't think Dessers, Lammers or Roof. I mean, Roof's about as reliable as I am for a Wednesday night. So that's never going to happen. So I'm going to put a bit of a positive spin on it as well, similar to Kieran. I think it's not a good thing he's injured, but it kind of forces us now. We have to address the problem. The front line of Sima, Matondo and McCausland excites me as well.
Yeah.
One of them breaks down, then it is disaster zone. As it stands now, Danilo's out for several months, which to my mind means the summer. I think we're not going to get much change out of him for the rest of this season, in my opinion. So we must act in January. We must do it. He knows, I'm sure Clement knows, that Dessers, Lammers and Roof as a viable number 9 from now till May will not win the league. It will not win the league. It's as simple as that. So we must go and we must spend. It's as simple as that. Whether we have to move any of them on, whether we have to go on loan, we don't know. We'll look at that in January. But as it stands right now, Danilo being out, massive blow. Of course it is. But we must now act. And if we, for example, say he was going to be back February, would we be tempted to limp through until February and see how it goes? And then if it was put back till March, then it's a disaster. We must act now. It's several months. Early in January, we don't have a game from the 2nd till the 20th. I think the 20th is a cup game against Dumbarton at Dumbarton. So we have a good bit of time there in that January break to address this problem and fix it. So yes, it's a blow, but it could also help.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Look, I'll stick with you, Andy. The way I see it, you've already touched on sort of one of the options there. It's we've got a few options. Do we stick with the guys that we've currently got? And obviously, the answer for you is no. And I am in a similar camp to that. This is where I start dropping the names. One I think is a bit of a no-brainer for me. Shankland, I would be throwing money at Hearts to bring him in, to be quite honest with you. The next one is a bit more interesting than RFC 72's mentioned in the comments. Says, knowing our board, it's definitely the Buffalo coming back for 6 months. Obviously we know that he's I'm sure we saw the videos online of Santos getting relegated in the Brazilian league, but that was absolutely mental. He's a free agent. Or the other option is do we look further afield? Where do you sit on all that, Andy? Would you be happy with Morelos coming back? Would you rather a Shankland coming in? Where do you sit all?
If you would offer me the two head of ice, it would be Shankland all day long. I'm not in favour of bringing Alfredo Morelos back. I just don't think it's a viable option. Probably one that will be and perhaps should be explored to a very short extent. But I'm with you. Phone Hearts up. How much do you want? I know you hear it, you see it on Twitter or X or whatever you call it now. You see it all the time. He's going to cost money. Of course, he's going to cost money. I think he's got 18 months left in his contract, so he's going to cost money. And he's a proven goal scorer in the SPL. It's as simple as that. So he's going to cost money. So see, if you value him at 1.52 million, and you need to pay 3, see if it helps us win the league. I'd pay 6. It doesn't matter, It doesn't really matter. I think he's a proven goal scorer. He will come to Rangers and he will score goals. So I'm with you. Phone Hearts up, name your price, and he'll want to come. He will want to come to the Rangers number 9. I'm sure he's dreamt of it. So I'm well in that camp. I've also thought about Miovski. I don't know so much about him. I think he would do a job. I think he would do an absolute job. But again, head in a vice, I would still pick Shankland. But to your roundabout question there, if it was did I take Alfredo Morelos back, I think it would be a resounding no from me. Love him, absolutely love him. 78 or 80 goals or something. or 150 odd games. Carried us through Europe for a season and a half. Some fantastic goals, some fantastic laughs. Also made you incredibly furious sometimes with silly red cards. And the fun factor is never to be forgotten. But no, that ship, I think, for me, has sailed, and I wouldn't like to see Morelos back at Rangers.
Yeah, that's exactly the phrase I feel about it as well, is that the ship has sailed, and it's just, I can't ever remember recently, apart from maybe Alan McGregor and Stephen Davis, players that have left the club and come back in and been successes. I'm just going to pull this comment up by Paul McGarrigle, because this is the most typical Alfredo Morelos thing I've ever heard in my life. And it's Buffalo's agent says he wants to try Russia. I'll tell you what, that was one thing I was not expecting to read tonight, but it wouldn't surprise me if he ended up over there. Kieran, you nearly caused a meltdown in the comment section last time we were talking about a player. I can't believe that it's 6 months that these two guys have left, and we've had conversations about potentially both of them returning. But you were an advocate of Kent returning because of the lack of viable options in the wing at the time. Do you feel the same about Alfredo Morelos?
It's the same sort of situation, isn't it? Lack of viable options up front. It's crazy. I sit right in the fence with this one. It's a bit of a difficult one. And just going back on something you've just said there as well, Kyle, like, ask yourselves this: how many players leave Glasgow Rangers and better themselves? They go into better teams, they go into bigger things. Not many, really. You couldn't really round them off the top of your head. And that's not a bad thing. But in terms of the point about Morelos, I'm going to play devil's advocate a wee bit here and say the Morelos that was terrible for us, would you rather have him up front than Dessers?
I don't see. It's an entirely different situation, that, because he was, for me, chucked it towards the last 6 months of last season, and that's a fact that's coming into my head. But if you're talking about peak, Thursday night Europa League Morelos, I mean, obviously the answer is you would have him in his squad, but I just don't think we'd be getting that guy back, Kieran.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I stand on that side of it. That he down tools. It was after what was it, around about 50,000 a week, 40,000 a week. We're not paying Alfredo Morelos that. The guy that couldn't keep fit, couldn't keep out the nightclubs, just couldn't nail down a proper attitude. And for the whole of last season, he was overweight, right? We could clearly see that, right? It's his job to be fit. It was his job to score goals for us and be an athlete, and he wouldn't do his job for a year. Now, that's not good at all whatsoever. On the other hand, he's an absolute. On the other hand, it's a case of circumstance. We really miss a shit house. We miss someone up front with that attitude, and we are needing a striker badly. We know he can score goals. If there was a chance of getting him for 6 months on a cut price deal and not paying any money, and he's put on a plate for you, is it hard to say no? But again, playing devil's advocate here, if you're the board at Rangers, you've just brought in a new head of recruitment, all right? It's not a very good look for him when the fans are like, we need to sign Lawrence Shankland. We don't pay the money and we bring in the guy that badly let us down last year. It would be so typical of our board to do that.
Yeah.
Bring in the both of them, that's what I say.
Standard. Listen, that's a lot more measured than I thought you'd be. As I said, I generally thought you were going to come knee sliding onto this podcast tonight.
Oh God, I do love him. I do love that Thursday night Alfredo. A bit like Andy, turned up for the big games. But I'll be honest here. It's very reminiscent, this situation, of the January before we were on the Europa League run right to the final. We needed a striker in that window. Defoe had just left. Itten was still out on loan. And we tried to run the gauntlet with Roof and Morelos and knew we were a Morelos injury away from disaster. And it sort of happened. It cost us Europa League. And I'll tell you, if we had went out and signed a striker that window, we would have won the league as well, because we were still well within touching distance of them right up until, I'd say, April of that year. So we know it needs done. There's a very good chance of us still being within touching distance of Celtic going into the new year if we're not top. And I'll tell you, if we're top going into the new year, things are going to get hell of a toxic over the other side of the city. We need to put the foot in the gas. We need to sign Lawrence Shankland now. More important than anything we do, we can't go out and get Aaron Ramsey, Diallo and James Sands again, because that just didn't work. We need at least Lawrence Shankland in this window. It doesn't matter what we pay. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, I think it's rare that there's three podders on and all agreeing at the same thing. But for me, the moment that I realised that we should definitely sign Lawrence Shankland was when he gave the finger to the Aberdeen supporters at the weekend. So that's it. Give him whatever he wants in my book. Look, Andy, we'll move on to the next sort of topic of conversation here. It's obviously Fashion Sakala gave an interview to Rangers Review today, a guy who wasn't everybody's favourite footballer, but he was very hard not to love off the pitch. A guy that I always thought did his best and posted some pretty decent numbers. Okay, he wasn't the best technical footballer. And by the way, before anybody says it, no, we will not be talking about bringing him back tonight as well. But yeah, there was a wee quote that I just wanted to bring up if my laptop works here. He said, when he's talking about Beale, he said, he clearly showed me that I wasn't part of his plans without telling me anything. The time I received a call from Mick Beale was when he told me not to come to the training ground anymore. That was hard to take for me because I didn't do anything. Players leave clubs, but they're not told not to go to the training ground, not to be part of the team. I know there's two sides to every story, but I don't know. I was just really disappointed in the way that he'd been treated. Andy, how did you feel about the whole thing?
I feel the same from what I've read and heard today. Doesn't show Michael Beale in the best of lights. He's not in the best of lights in my eyes anyway, after the butchery job he done to us in the summer we have checkbook. I might go off on a rant about Michael Beale, in fact, and somebody's still going to have to explain to me how he can watch a Celtic manager win a league with pace and wingers and buy slow central players. It's beyond belief anyway. I digress. The way he treated Sakala, if all this is true, and there is two sides to every story, is shocking. He is a likeable guy. He divided the support as a footballer, I suppose. There's definitely been better football players divided the Rangers support, and there's been better football players missed sitters in front of the Celtic goal as well, and he done both of them. But he also scored he scored some important goals. He had a cracking goal up at Dundee United, I remember, hat-trick at Motherwell, 2 or 3 goals against Celtic, all good finishes. So there was a player in there. His numbers were excellent. But more than that, in this scenario, he was a thoroughly likeable guy, a thoroughly likeable chap, with that smile. And I remember him saying he loved his song and he was singing it himself and all the rest of it. That's all very, very endearing to the Rangers support, but it means nothing. It means nothing on the Ibrox pitch. But he didn't offer nothing. He offered something, in my opinion. He definitely offered something, and that may have been a financial outlet, i.e. he could have been sold for money, which he was, so I can understand that. But if it was handled in the manner that he says it was, and you've got no reason to disbelieve him. He seems like a thoroughly genuine young man, so I don't disbelieve him at all. And if it was handled in the way he says, it's poor. It's a poor reflection on the way we were at the time, and very, very disappointing in Michael Beale. I didn't think I could be more disappointed in my kind of opinion on Michael Beale, but it turns out I can. And if this is all proved to be true, not that it has to be proved to be true, I'm taking it at face value. Very, very disappointed, Kyle.
Yeah, it's fair. I feel the same way about it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think £4 million for Fashion Sakala was a superb bit of business. But yeah, just to treat him that way, it's not for me. Couple of comments here, Kieran. One in particular that I'm going to get you to react to as well. Sharpie Staunch here. Sakala was a loose cannon, but I pick him over Dessers and Lammers all day long. I think that'd be an interesting question. That one there. And Paul McGarrigle, an excellent point as always. He says, I think that it might be that the club didn't want Fashion to get injured and scupper any possible sale. Maybe there might be something in that, but it was the bit. I just felt so sad for him when he was talking about, not even being able to say bye to Tav and Goldson. He had to do it over the phone. And the fact that he wasn't he was scoring goals in pre-season, but none of it was going up. That would maybe suggest they weren't too bothered about him getting injured. But yeah, do you think that it might have been a possible reason for it?
Yeah, there's something strange went on there. I do take Paul's point on board that they maybe try and avoid injury, but I can't see that when they're saying that his stuff wasn't being posted and there was no sort of head and shoulder shot taken of his picture, of his image, things like that. There's been a conversation there with the media team to say, like, don't do this, don't do that, almost like they were trying to force him out. But for me with this whole situation, right, regardless if it's Sakala, regardless if it's anyone that's ever played for Rangers, you need to treat people on a personal level. You can't be treating people like that in any walk of life or any work. So when we look at the wider picture, and I don't want to go on a big negative rant about Michael Beale, but when you sit back and you take the blue-coloured specs off and you look at it from a personal point of view, Michael Beale was holding himself round the Loudon and sitting in the director's box while the other guy was in the job, trying to get his job. And then sort of how everything played out, how he left the club, the things that you hear about him being here previously as well, it just leaves a bit of sour taste in your mouth. And then this Sakala stuff comes along. Like, I loved Beale the first time around, and I was crying out to have him back when things weren't going right for Gio. But the way this whole thing's played out just does not shine him in a good light whatsoever. I thought we were going to get a real man manager that was a football nut, that knew football tactics and knew his coaching right down to the core, and an elite coach. But it's quite frankly the opposite, and it's not painting him personally within a good light. And well played for Fashion for speaking up and saying that, because very rarely do you get players that want to put their head in the line and basically speak out about a previous manager there. So, never nice to hear. But I hope Sakala's doing well.
Yeah, I totally agree. He's a guy I'd certainly like to see back at Ibrox in the future. Maybe not in a playing capacity, but just to give him a proper farewell, and just for the fans to show their appreciation for him and what he did in a Rangers jersey. Because it was brilliant. I've seen Michael Moles at half time at the weekend, and I'd maybe not get quite the reception that Moles got, but you wouldn't imagine it would be too far off it. But yeah, we need to. Yeah, I just don't like it when you hear things and people being incorrectly treated. Andy, the next talking point is no surprises. Rangers appealed Cifuentes' red card yesterday. It didn't take very long for the panel to uphold the ban. At the time, I thought it was a very soft red card, but Ross, to his credit, did point out, listen, if that was a Rangers player on the receiving end of that, what would you think? And I was like, yeah, 100% red card. But how big an impact is that going to have? And do you agree with the decision not to overturn the red card?
I kind of do agree with it. Now that I've seen it back at the time, I didn't see any issue with it. I didn't think anybody else seen any issue with it at all. But as you see it back, I can understand why it was upheld and the red card stands. Does it pose an issue? Yes, for Sunday, obviously. However, the wee chink of light in that was the presser that we've seen today from Clement, not ruling Ryan Jack out entirely. In fact, if you were to read between lines, which I suppose we do, saying that he nearly travelled but didn't travel, is that telling us that he will be there for Sunday? I think probably so.
Yeah.
I think probably so. It's ideal because Cifuentes isn't going to be there. So he slots straight in there beside John Lundstrom. I think that's a no-brainer. And let's face it, it's a cup final against Aberdeen. First silverware of the season. We seem to be on as much of an upward trajectory as we can be with the squad that we currently have. So I think even an 80% fit Ryan Jack is going to be an asset on that pitch on Sunday. And I'm pinning all my hopes that I've got this right, that Clement has kind of gave us a wee peek behind the curtain, if you like, and saying that he was close to travelling but didn't, means he's fit and ready to go for Hampden on Sunday. So as much as it is going to be a bit of an issue losing Cifuentes, if Jack's there, 80% fit, I'm more than happy with it, especially when, and we'll get to this, I'm quite sure, you'll have Hampden Scott right there.
Yeah, man, no, I can't wait to see Scott right back at Hampden again. But yeah, Kieran, look, that brings me on to sort of a general point. I mentioned them earlier on, and I normally don't like talking about players if they're still attached to other clubs. But as I said, this one plays for Aberdeen, and his name's been mentioned, and I don't care. So Connor Barron, the rumours seem to be picking up for that. As I said, every pre-season I think we are stacked in central midfield. We don't need anybody, but in there I'm always perplexed by people say we need central midfielders, and then look at it, we're down to the bones. Would you see Connor Barron as a guy that you would like to see at Rangers? You know, he fits the profile, young, Scottish, seems pretty good from a defensive side of view. You know, I've got a few pals in Aberdeen who have said that he's similar to Ryan Jack in terms of the work that he does. If some of these rumours are true, would you say that was a good deal, Rangers signing Connor Barron in a pre-contract?
Yeah, I will be really honest. As a player, I don't know too much about him, but from the outside looking in, he does tick all the boxes. Homegrown talent, plenty of experience playing in the SPFL, Scotland under 21, a central midfielder, which we need because you're going to have Ryan Jack out of contract. Likely at the moment, we're going to have Lundstrom out of contract as well. So we are going to need reinforcements there. Sign him on a free. He's young. We've seen what's happened to another young Scottish midfielder that was at Aberdeen that we let slip through our fingers, and is absolutely tearing it up in Serie A right now. So, yeah, let's not make that mistake again. We've went over that in this podcast. Go and get him. For me, like I say, if he's been linked with Rangers and it's been happening for a while, and I know, was it Reese was discussing it for him in the Scotland 21s? He had watched him and said, very good player. He spoke very highly of him. So, yeah, everything I hear, it would be a good bit of business. I'd like to see us get that done.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I'm always keen for Rangers to get young Scottish talent. If it's not coming through the academy, poaching's the best in the other parts of the league. And yeah, I think that he would be a good signing. As you said, fit that European quota, homegrown, because we're going to need that, because I don't know how much Ryan Jack's got left in him, to be honest with you. Look, Andy, I'm going to ask you this. It wasn't on my agenda, but I'm going to come to it, seeing as you've not really had a chance to wax lyrical about our man on loan from Brighton. He did say in his press conference earlier on that, he's really happy to be at Rangers. He was really happy, enjoying playing his teammates. And I don't know if he let it slip that he would like something to happen with Rangers in that press conference as well. But it certainly, I felt like at this stage, he was more. Malik Tillman never gave us that, like, I want to sign for Rangers, I'll be happy to come here. What have you made of Sima's contribution to the season so far, and those comments in the press conference?
It's been fantastic. There's no getting away from it. It's been absolutely fantastic. I can't remember who said it on Sunday evening in the podcast, but was it JB? I think it was JB said that he's witnessed possibly the worst 44 minutes in a Rangers strip. I don't think before he banged it into the top corner, just before half time in the playoff round, I don't think it was quite the worst performance Andy's ever seen in a Rangers strip, but it certainly wasn't far off it. But since then, he's been absolutely phenomenal. He offers so much, and Kieran mentioned earlier on that and I would be excited to see it as well, to see Matondo, Sima, and a McCausland kind of front line, if you like. I just worry though, if you do put Sima through the middle, and you would lose what you already have, and you have goals coming from that side. You've not had that in Ryan Kent for God knows how many years, really. The numbers that the guy's posting is fantastic. To answer your question about how refreshing it is to hear him say these things, it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic to hear him say that he would love to stay. He never said he would love to stay at Rangers. He would like to explore staying at Rangers, I suppose, is the best way to put it. Now, there will be conversations ongoing. Our very own Tommy has made that clear. I think he must have a wee bit of an inside track. He keeps mentioning that we're in talks with Brighton. So I hope that's the case, and I hope something can be thrashed out. I don't know off the top of my head how long a contract he's got or how much money it would cost, etc., etc., etc. But as it stands now, the form that he's in, the money you would pay you'd pay quite a lot of money for him, put it that way. I've got all the hopes in the world that this will continue on. I see no reason for it not to continue on. But we have a crunch game tomorrow night. We have a cup final on Sunday. We have 3 league games, which will not be easy around Christmas. An Old Firm game at the end of the month. So these are all big games as well. This is possibly the first block of fixtures that we have with an informed Sima. So let's see what he does over the next 6-7 games until the winter break. But as it stands, get the checkbook out and sign him.
Yeah. Total agreement with you there. I think he's got 1 year left in his Brighton contract. They signed him for about £7 million. So we'll see. You know, we've got an ex-captain and an ex-assistant manager that's in charge of their recruitment strategy down there at Brighton. So you never know. Hopefully he can do us a wee favour. Kieran, look, the next question I'll lead with is the question that we've asked in the podcast, the title of the podcast. If you, depending on how good your answer is to this, you might be in the running for the Rangers manager's job the next time the vacancy appears. But should Rangers prioritise the League Cup at the weekend over the Europa League, or is the answer both? And how do we do that?
Yes, 100%. And the reason I say that is leaving the ground after the dire Limassol game and how cold it was that night and how flat we were as a support. I was pretty down about that and just thought it was a complete disaster if we don't qualify for the Europa League, right? But it's everything that's happened since then. We've closed the gap. There's a chance of closing that gap further to 2 points. So now domestically, things become a lot more important. That league title becomes a lot more important, and getting the Viaplay Cup or the League Cup, whatever you want to call it, in the bag first time. You know, the whole Mourinho theory, and I think Clement touched on it, about getting that first bit of silverware of the season. Well, this is it. We need to do it. And is it crazy to think this is such a mixed bag of a game tomorrow night that we could finish top of that group? We've got a chance to finish the top of the group, but it's a free hit almost. Fans aren't going to be angry if we drop into the conference. We're guaranteed European football next year. And I watched that West Ham game last year when they won the Conference League final, and I was thinking, what a time we had in Seville at a European final. I would take that any day of the week. And this isn't me counting my chickens before they're hatched for a Conference League final and win. This is me saying that it might not be that bad if we don't do so well tomorrow night. Look, people have got to sort of harper their expectations a wee bit and realise that we're threadbare. We're trying to keep players for the weekend. And Andy said maybe we've had a wee peek behind the curtain with Ryan Jack that Clement's not going to come out and say, hello, we're going to play a weekend team against Real Betis. Like, no chance. But Clement might be saying to Ryan Jack, look, Sunday's more important. Stay behind. Keep rehabbing your injury, keep working hard, and make sure you're ready for the weekend. And quite frankly, I'm happy that we need to win this game on Sunday. Tomorrow night, like I say, people might not say it out loud because it's Glasgow Rangers and the expectations are that you win every game, regardless if it's Barcelona or Brecon that you're playing against. It's a free hit tomorrow night. Win, lose or draw, we're in European football past Christmas and we're in a title race. That's the most important thing.
Okay, you're bringing so much positivity to the podcast tonight, Kieran. Listen, that's it. You've got my vote, if that means anything. But yeah, look, Andy, I'll ask a very similar question to you. Kieran's, picked up on some really, really fantastic points there. There is a huge bit of momentum, behind Rangers now. I thought we'd got off to the absolute worst possible start coming back from the international break. 2 draws, one against a very poor Limassol team. I thought the team showed, real good spirit. Clement spoke about it well on his post-match press conference after the Dundee game. They're together, they're fighting for everything. We're not panicking when we're going to go behind, to overcome a red card as well. There's a bit of momentum behind this here. Is it, he's a football manager. I know we've said, should he prioritise the League Cup over the Europa League? And Kieran's described it as a bit of a free hit there. But for me, it's 3 points, and we could win the group. How do Rangers, do both, prioritise both with such, a threadbare squad at the moment?
I don't think we can. I simply don't think we can. Well, obviously we can prioritise both. That can be done by preparing properly and things like that. But as it stands right now, with the squad that we have, the injury list that we have, Ryan Jack being perhaps rested, Todd Cantwell with various issues, he's stayed at home. We don't have Todd Cantwell tomorrow night. Obviously, you want to go there and make a good account of yourself, but it is a free hit. Kieran's hit the nail right in the head. It's a completely free hit. You want to go there and you want to win. Betis don't lose many games at home. It's going to be a hard game with a full squad. They don't score a hell of a lot of goals, Betis, from what I've seen. But they can also hold Real Madrid to a 1-1 draw. You know, so there's these things are mutually exclusive. But that just shows you tomorrow night we're going to not an easy place. It's going to be very, very difficult with a full squad. We don't have a full squad. We've got a threadbare squad tomorrow night. Now, he's not going to send the team onto that park to say, don't bother trying, lads, you've got a game on Sunday. That won't happen. He will go out there and try and make a good account of themselves. I'm quite sure of that. But it is a free hit. And if we drop into the Conference League, then so be it. And before Kieran said there, which I was going to say, I watched the West Ham Cup final last year. And I would have thoroughly enjoyed to be involved in that. Thoroughly enjoyed it. This, folks say it on Twitter and things like that. You see the Conference League's a Diddy Cup and blah, blah, blah. No, it's not. It's a European trophy. There's some good teams in that. And there will be some good games between January and however long we progress in it. It's as simple as that. So I don't think it's a bad thing to drop into that. We're guaranteed European football after it. When it comes to Sunday, before I get to that, I've actually been kind of let down twice because I was under the impression up until about 2 hours ago that we had an early kick-off tomorrow night. So as much as you're thinking the last thing you want to prepare for a cup final against Aberdeen is a trip to Spain, but I'm thinking early kick-off, game's done at 9, we're in their own beds for 12:30. Everything should be fine. It's an 8 o'clock kick-off, so you're talking the back of 3 in the morning time they're home. So that's not ideal at all before a cup final, obviously. But you've got to, that old cliche, and I always say cliches, but it doesn't make it untrue. Cup finals take care of themselves. They really, really do. They should not need to get up for that cup final. The momentum's building. They're all fighting for each other. We are a team now. As Kieran said, we've closed the gap on Celtic. We're getting to the winter break, so I'm quite sure the team talks will be along the lines of, listen, there's only 6 games left. Get through it all. Make a good account of yourselves, and we'll reassess come the 2nd of January after we play Kilmarnock. And that's what they will do. I'm quite sure of that. So I think Sunday will take care of itself. Although, head tells you tomorrow night's going to be very difficult. In my heart, though, I'm just saying no more injuries. No more injuries.
Can I be honest as well? Are we completely confident that Prague are going to go to Limassol and get a win? Because I think that Aris Limassol don't get enough credit. I think they're a decent side, better than what folk make them out to be. I think they made it very difficult for us at Ibrox, and of course they ran amok over a very poor Rangers side over there. And they held Betis. I'm sure Betis only went there and won 2-1. It's a difficult place to go, and they're a half-decent side. So in that sense, we could still get beat tomorrow and go through.
Yeah, well, that's exactly the thing. I mean, looking at the connotations of the group, it's, as always with Rangers, I'm going to say it's straightforward, but it's never bloody straightforward, isn't it not? But if we win, we top the group, we go through, we don't have to play a team that drops down from the Champions League. If in both games they both draw, we're through because we have we'll be 1 point ahead. If Prague draw and we lose, we still go finish second because of that better head-to-head as well. So, there's still a fair chance. I think that's a fair point. You know what it was like? You heard all the players talking about how horrible it was playing over in Cyprus. And I think it's safe to say the polite way of putting it is they do have quite a few mental players that play for them. So you never know. But Kieran, I just want to get your reaction. Andy sort of touched on it there. It was the main sort of talking point for me from that press conference that Todd Cantwell, it's not an injury. That's the only positive thing I can say about it. If it's a family issue, obviously our family takes precedent over everything. We wish him well and we hope everything's okay. But again, it's just news that I just feel that we didn't need to hear before such a big game.
Yeah, first and foremost, I hope everything goes well for him, whatever is going on with his personal circumstances at the moment. And yeah, as we're so depleted, luckily for this one, we've got Cifuentes available. So, more to the point, it means he's not going to get injured, put it that way.
Yeah.
It just might be that we have to put up with Lammers and Dessers on the same pitch for 90 minutes. But
yeah,
you know what? We need to be using the full squad tomorrow night. We need to see guys getting chances that probably wouldn't usually get chances. That's the way I'm looking at it. And yeah, he's my favourite player at Rangers. I've been on record and saying I think he's the best in Scotland. That get clipped up by a Celtic fan who tuned into the podcast, which is not something I tend to do for their side. So yeah, I've got that bookmarked for the end of the season. So don't worry if you're watching this one. But nah, it's one of these ones. Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see come Sunday. But for tomorrow night, it's a shame he misses it. But let's hope he's there or thereabouts for Sunday and everything goes okay for him.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the main point from that. Hopefully, whatever it is that's going on, or is resolved, or he's in the right state of mind to be able to play on Sunday. Andy, in terms of looking at our opponents, Real Betis, a couple of facts that I was looking at before we came on, and you can make of this of what you will. Paul McGarrigle here says, and you'll see why I'm saying this, tomorrow is just don't lose, which I suppose is keep it simple. But I never like players of any team going into a game and that being the bar. The bar has to be 1-1-1-1-1 for me at all times. But Betis, they've got a pretty depleted squad. I think they've got 6 what we would consider first team players that are out for them. But the sort of main affected changes for me is in their back 5, including their goalkeeper. From that first game, it's only Pizzella and Abner are the only 2 players that are going to feature there. The goal, so basically, effectively, they got a second choice goalkeeper, a second choice centre back, and a second choice full back. How important is Rangers' play going to be tomorrow and exploiting this? And can you see the fullbacks really pushing on tomorrow, or do you think Clement will adopt a bit more of a defensive style of play against them?
I think it possibly will be more of a defensive style of play. Before we get there, though, they've only got 6 players out. That's amateur. That's just amateur stuff. They've only got 6 first team players out. That'd be smashing. That'd be excellent if we had that. Quite sure we've got more than that. No, it'll be more defensive tomorrow night. Probably because we're away from home and it's against a Spanish European team. I would imagine they'll dominate a bit more possession than we're used to, I suppose. But it's interesting to hear you say there. I wasn't aware that they had any injury crisis or anything like that. But if they've got fullbacks or second choice fullbacks, if you like, then that does that bode well for Sima and McCausland, perhaps Matondo? Does that bode well for them? To use our pace, to use our kind of assets. I mean, Dessers, as much as he will lead the line tomorrow night, there's absolutely no doubt about it. With Lammers sitting in the number 10, that's going to happen. We may as well get used to it. We've got 24 hours to get used to that. It'll be fun watching it, I'm quite sure. But we're going to have to try and use this, use Sima, use his pace, use Matondo, use his pace, use McCausland. He's very exciting to watch. So if we can get up the park, which I'm sure we will, I'll not be backs against the wall or anything like that. We will be able to get up the park, and you're going to have to rely on Tav and his quality again, as usual. I think we can certainly do something. But I think there will be a hell of a lot of times we have to do a lot of work off the ball. And it will be interesting, I suppose. Is this the first time Clement's played perhaps as an underdog in a European away from home tie? I think it is. We went to Prague, of course, but Betis is slightly better than that, you would think. So it'll be interesting to see how he handles it, really. I suppose it's game 13 of his tenure. As I say before, he's done his okay so far. He's got this squad playing better than I thought was possible. So next test is a European away game against a La Liga team, and see how we go.
Yeah, that's it exactly. And Kyran, Andy again touched on some of the points there. Surely we have to be, exploiting this, that they are weakened defensively. Andy as well said that, that they tend not to concede a lot of goals. They don't tend to score a lot of goals. It was really weird hearing him earlier on when he talked about Real Madrid, because I'm so used to this season them being called Jude Bellingham's Real Madrid. But it's no mean feat to hold them to a draw at home. There was something I saw on Twitter, and it was that Rangers have never beaten Spanish opposition away, which is a crazy, crazy, crazy stat. But how do you how do you see Clement, attacking and approaching that game tomorrow before we get into the lineup specifically?
I think we will be looking to catch them on the counter-attack in that sense. In my honest opinion, if we can avoid using Matondo too much and keep him for the weekend and play him off the left with Seaman in my mid. I can't even speak now. Why am I even on a podcast? Play Matondo off the left and Seaman through the middle at the weekend. I think that's got to be what we're looking forward to. But I'll be even more positive than I've been already on this podcast, right? Think back to your Europa League run. Am I right in saying we went away to Lyon and what looked like a dead rubber and got a result when nobody thought we could, and then we went on this crazy run in the Europa League? Yeah. Stranger things have happened. Stranger things have definitely happened. But looking at the team, would we be surprised if we went 3-5-2 the way we did in Prague? Because I felt like it worked. I did like the three at the back, and we've not done it since. Three at the back, sit in, falls into a 5-3-2 or a 5-3-1-1, whatever way you want to look at it. I really wouldn't be surprised if we threw a curveball.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'll be interested to see if there is a back five tomorrow. Paul here says, well, Clement possibly go with a back five tomorrow. Let's start going through what we think. Exactly, I know. Are you Paul McGarrigle? But yeah. Will he play a back five? Who do you think who will be in the defence tomorrow for Rangers, Andy?
I kind of wrote it down before we came on, Kyle, and I never actually gave it a second thought that they could play a back five. Never gave it a second thought, but it's a completely viable option, I suppose. But I'll go with what I've written down, and it's Butland, obviously, Tav, Goldson, Davies, and Borna. That's what I've got as the normal back four. I did say off camera to you that if he is thinking along the lines of perhaps using Sterling as a holding midfielder come Sunday, could he drop Tav or rest Tav tomorrow night and play him at right back for some game time? I suppose that's an option as well. Probably not going to happen, but I think my opinion is the back four will be Tav, Goldson, Davies, and Borna. But the back five thing is now making me think, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because I said that I'm really not sure who I've got in it that 10 role, and maybe if you're playing a back five, you don't need that 10 so much if you've got pace up and down the wings. But could you see him even playing Sterling in a back 3-5, whatever you want to call it, Andy?
Possibly with an eye on Sunday. But I think it could be Goldson, Suter, and Davies. Did Davies play left fullback? Yep. Did Davies play fullback in that game? Was that in the
Prague? Yeah, he played in the left in that game, yeah.
Seema played left wing back that game.
Yeah.
Is that what it was? I saw it was. Actually, that's where I'm getting the confusion now. So he could play Sterling there, but I don't see him farting about with it, for want of a better expression, then I just think it'll be the normal back four. I mean, is it a must-win game? Possibly not. I just think with the personnel available, I think you might just stick to the normal back four.
Yeah, I think that's fair. For what it's worth, that's where I'm at it as well. Look, Kieran, we'll move on to the midfield. I think that's a certain, it picks itself, but as I said, that sort of 8-10 role, where are you? You having a back five? You having a back four? What's your thoughts on that, the midfield and the defence?
Regardless of it, I think you're going to get three central midfielders. You're going to get three in the middle. Back three, if it is, I think it picks itself. I do like that you say Sterling there. So do we look ahead again and bring Sterling in and rest the one that's going to play on Sunday? Or are we're dead set that it's going to be Balogun who doesn't feature in the European squad? I don't know. I really don't know. If it's me, I go a back three, Suter, Goldson, Davis. Just because I did like it in Prague. I think we defended well that night, although at times it was siege defending. Now, in the middle, right, I'm not a Lammers fan whatsoever, right? It's been pound for pound a really, really bad signing. Cifuentes, Lundstrom, and I think something which Clement touched on when Matondo was coming back to injury, he went on about him playing as the second striker in that derby against Bruges. Maybe this is something we see. Who knows? We really don't know. I'm just expecting a curveball tomorrow night with so many options out and not much to sort of use. He's got to come up with something. The same way we spoke about the Asima being at left wing back. there's going to be a curveball in there somewhere, I think. But I don't know. The midfield, the centrals do pick themselves. Lundstrom, Cifuentes, and whoever it is in front, whether it is Lammers or Matondo, or does he deploy that at the weekend if Cantwell's out? Who knows? Who knows? But I do think the squad selection will be picked with an eye on Sunday.
That's fair comment as well there. Andy, do you agree with that the squad will be, Sunday will be kept in mind when Clement is picking a squad, and that is something, I think that's a really good comment you made there as well, Kieran. I never, ever, ever considered Matondo as somebody is sitting in that second striker, but yeah, he has said it a couple of times. I really don't know how I feel, with that lineup. But yeah, can you see that, Andy? Can you see him, even Matondo, starting as a 10? That's just because I just don't want Lammers there personally, to be honest with you.
I hadn't even thought about it till Kieran mentioned it, but I have written down here it's very important to keep Lammers away from the football pitch. So there is. I suppose there could be some credence in that. I think it will be Lundstrom, Cifuentes, and Lammers. I think it will be. Whether it's get one eye on Sunday, probably not. I think we're going to have to get used to tomorrow night. Lundstrom, Cifuentes, and Lammers, and I think the front will be Sima, Dessers, and McCausland. I don't know whether Betis away is the place to fart about again with Matondo as a number 10. It could be done. Curveballs can happen. I just don't see that happening. I think it'll be more along the lines of Lammers in the number 10 role, if you like. Seaman, McCausland with Dessers as a number 9. And if Matondo does feature, it will be somewhere for either Seema or for McCausland. I can't really see anything else happening. There might be a curveball. As it stands right now, I see it being a pretty run-of-the-mill team selection, pretty run-of-the-mill game, and move on to Sunday. And I'd be happy with that, to be honest.
And that's it. And before we move on and I get score predictions off the Perrier, Kieran, I'm just going to ask you as well, is that your sort of front three as well, that McCausland, Dessers, Seema, or have you got even more curveballs to throw at us there for that one?
Nah, I'm on board with what Andy said. I very much expect to see that, but I'd like to see a curveball, but Andy's bang on the money. You don't go and faff about and bet. You go and see what you can get within the hour, and if it looks like you're on for a draw with your normal run-of-the-mill team, then you're taking that and you're going to try and hold on to it before looking towards Sunday. But yeah, I think substitutions especially will be made with an eye on Sunday, depending on how the game goes at that moment. But Clement is magic, and I have my full trust in him.
Oh, there we go. We've said that about a previous manager as well. He might have had a song about him as well.
Listen, I'm fully in love and ready to be heartbroken all over again, but nah, I've got a good feeling about Clement. I really like him.
Oh, no, I know you're ready to be heartbroken again. You're wanting Kent Morelos back at the club. So, but yeah, no, I totally agree. I don't think there'll be too many surprises, as we sort of touched on. I think the squad largely picks itself. It'll be interesting to see how much is or who's playing in that sort of 10 position. I think it will be Lammers. I'm not a particularly huge fan of that. But yeah, I think we'll ask guys to go to the well. I think we'll see Roof featuring for like 30 minutes for the longest that he's featured at any point this weekend. But I don't know, something's telling me that we're just going to get a wee result over there, get a draw, and I think, I mean, I never look at it as a free hit, because I want us to be in the next round of the Europa League, because I think it's fair to say I think we all enjoy Europa League Thursdays on here. Don't get me wrong, not turning my nose up at the Conference League, but I definitely would rather stay in the Europa League. But yeah, look, before we finish and wrap the pod up, Andy, I'll come to you first. Are you feeling the same as me, despite that we've never won against Spanish opposition in Spain in a competitive match? Do you think Rangers will get a result? Do you think they'll get a draw? Do you think we'll go through?
I think we'll get a result. I don't think. I'm hoping. I can see a wee 1-1 or something like that happening. I don't see it being 0-0. I think we'll concede and we'll probably score as well, I think. So I'm going to say 1-1. However, what I will say, and I meant to say earlier, if we do go out tomorrow night and lose by the odd goal in 3 or the odd goal in 5 or whatever it may be, it does not take away the momentum we've already gained. It really doesn't. I don't think that will happen tomorrow night. A win helps it. Absolutely helps it. A winning or a draw tomorrow night completely helps the momentum. But a narrow defeat, it doesn't deflect away from it at all. and we'll get right back on track on Sunday. I'm quite sure of that. But as it stands right now, I'm going to go 1-1.
Yeah, I agreed. That's where I am with it as well. I'll take a 1-1 right now as well. Kieran, are you feeling the same?
Yeah, I'm going 1-1. I'm going for a draw in both games tomorrow, actually. I just don't feel that Prague can go there and get a result. I'm confident of that. But yeah, I think we can scrape a draw. I think we can go for a siege defending, heart in the mouth type of 90 minutes where Butland's pulling off save after save. That's the way I'm seeing it tomorrow night. Is be a turgid watch, but I definitely think we've got a draw in us against Betis. Listen, we're the number one seeds in this group. Betis aren't. We need to go out and prove that why we're in that spot.
Yeah, 100%. It's, I think I'll end that my final note in the podcast there. I don't think I would be as confident as what I am right now of us getting a draw result over there if we did not have Butland in goals, because I've just been so impressed. Even at the weekend when he just had that save in the first couple of minutes was just outstanding. So that's how much of a difference maker I think he is at the minute. If he has a good game tomorrow, then I think we're in with a chance. But listen, we'll see what Rangers turn up tomorrow. But thank you to everybody for watching, joining, listening, and interacting with us. Thank you, Andy, for joining. It was good seeing you tonight.
It's been an absolute pleasure. It's such an exciting time. There's 6 or 7 games left till the break. Christmas is coming up. We've got a bit of momentum. We've closed the gap. It's fantastic to be a Rangers supporter at the moment, and let's hope that continues till at least Monday.
That's it, exactly. And nice to see you supporting Ross McCausland there. We are here on it as quality. Always. And Kieran, it's been a pleasure as always. Before you go, I just want to say all the TII team are wishing you the best for Monday, and I hopefully the young one doesn't arrive at 3:00 on Sunday.
I know. Oh God, I need to make sure my wife's out of earshot before I say anything out of order.
Have you made contingency plans?
No, like I've ruled this one out right away. That like if a ticket comes along, I'll not be going. So who knows? I'm not making any promises, but nah, I'm excited. Just big few weeks ahead, baby, Rangers, Christmas, everything. So yeah, we're all in a good place just now. But absolute pleasure to be on here as always.
Perfect. And we will be back tomorrow night. I can't quite remember off the top of my head who's doing the show, but there'll be a review of the Betis game. But as always, just want to say thanks to everybody for tuning in, interacting, and joining us. Take care, and we'll see you all soon.